Rose here. Thank you for tuning in. So like always, I'm not really quite sure what my video of the week is going to be until I'm in the process of setting it up and filming it, but I kind of have vague ideas, and I'm wanting to do it more regularly on Fridays. Aloha Friday day. Friday is going to be my video day. I'm going to stick to that to the best of my ability. So tonight is a bit of a story time. I will eventually get to the title of the video, not clickbait in that way, but I want to preface a bit about what I feel to be the importance of storytelling. What I really feel one of the big understandings that humanity, our race, is going through is that the beyond exists. Simply enough that there is more. There are multi-dimensions, extra dimensions, beyond the veil, the other side, aliens, extra-terrestrials, and probably more labels and more ways to define and categorize that we have yet to even be able to imagine and comprehend at this point. But that's a huge part of overall what is happening in our consciousness. This understanding that there is something beyond, there is more. And then those of us that are contactees, as we say, or experiencers, or paranormal researchers, investigators, whatever you like to label yourself, we're coming up across all of these different, perhaps, interpretations of all of these different races, beings, whatever name, again, we want to put on wherever we think something may be coming from. And if we follow the symbols, the story, we can clue in on perhaps the morality tale. Whatever it is, any entity is reflecting to us that is showing us a lesson. And that's what is important. That's what most beings who are very much worth their salt will say. It's not about who, what, when, where, why, the details of who we are, but what we are saying, the story that we are saying. So in the channelings with Bella, that being said, more and more my perception is that she's very much who she says she is. It's not quite fully my belief. Quite honestly, all of the mythology, all of the story that we've been presented thus far isn't quite fully my belief. I think more and more, honestly, it's getting there, but I'm quite the observer and quite the, well, I suppose yes, a skeptic, but I have greater skeptics in my life that think about the world in very different ways than I do, and reflect many different ways to look at any given story to find the essence of it that is actually applicable to us in our day-to-day day. But in all honesty, the more and more that I live in my excitement, the more and more that I take action on the excitement, that I connect with other individuals that are doing this type of work, synchronicity abounds, and I'm aware of more and more synchronicity, and it then aligns with this overall mythology in a way where it's ever surprising and quite specific, to the point where I am in the understanding that it's my current perception that Bella and the rest of these ETs, specifically from the first contact specialists, or the contact specialist, now moving into second phase contact specialist, getting very, very specific about things, but that this storyline is very much potentially quote unquote real or true. But then in my trickstery over soul hotel, I'm always taken back to the idea that that also really isn't the point. It's the lesson. Is it authentic? Is it applicable to us? How does it actually make us learn and change our lives in the day-to-day moment? And it has, completely, for me. I am in such gratitude and having so much fun. And again, then more synchronicity emphasizes what is potentially the truth. But because of who I am and how I think and the agreements that I have chosen to have with individuals around me, there is that part of my mind that's always like, oh, well, is this just a collective agreed upon story? Is all of it pertaining in the way to the ET abductions? Is this a way that we've been telling story? What were the Fae abductions? What were these historical accounts dating all the way back to the Middle Ages and paintings of these night visits and sleep paralysis? Is there this just one way that we're telling story? Yeah, I really do think. And it's both. It's one way that our collective consciousness is understanding the importance of symbolism to be able to activate our learning. And also, they very well are who they say they are. So that being said, I want to share a little brief explanation of what I think these certain grays are, gray extraterrestrials, connected to the Yahyel race, the Shikani or Sasani, the Bashar lineage information. As it's been shown to me, I think I have talked about this in other videos, but I will say it again, that the Zetas were a very, very ancient race that looked like our typical gray alien. The little body, gray, little spindly arms, big head, dark eyes. And they were a male, technological, polarized race that found a level of harmony, a level of integration, and it was deemed very exciting in the eyes of the multiverse, eons and eons ago, in how we perceive linear time, right here, right now. And it was deemed allowed, necessary, that the gray or the Zeta body could be distributed to a wide variety of different civilizations, different soul streams, for different incarnational purposes in many, many different timelines and throughout the multiverse. So again, this adds to the layer of what humanity is fully discovering and uncovering and remembering, is that there is more, so much more. And we are entering into the age of the trickster fully. But I do feel, again, there are certain things that are part of the story and potentially part of the consensus reality agreement that we're in, because it is this dual dream that we are creating, multi-dual, you know what I mean? Anyways, so the timeline of the grays that are most relevant for us in that way, coming from the Yahyel, Sasani, that branch of the human hybridization program, are interacting with versions of the grays that are humans who have de-evolved in a separate timeline, lost connection to the emotional body. The planet then mirrored this connection. Heavy reliance on technology, intellect, fell completely into the gap or the denied space, the shadow. This resulted in them no longer being able to naturally procreate. And as it's been shown to me, the Zetas and the Mantis beings, that actually there are fractions of both that are very light polarized, very integrated, very ascended, quote unquote, as we would perceive it, that were able to send information to the beings that had de-evolved, these ones humans, because in this timeline humanity was going to die out. And in the eyes of Source, that is not allowed. So it was through these interbreeding races, in a way, of the Zetas and the Mantis beings, where the humans that became the Greys were able to get downloaded, in a sense, of the information of how to be able to create this gray prototype body. They had their own technology as well, but this was a little bit of an intervention. I don't think it happened consciously on those versions of the humans soon to be gray consciousness. I think they were unaware of this energy being sent, this invitation being sent. And then from there, they were able to essentially tunnel back, as we might understand it, to different parallel versions of the past, to interact with different aspects of their oversoul, potentially different versions literally of themselves, different aspects of their family. This is the story. This is from one particular slice of the pie, how and why one particular level of the human hybridization program occurred. So this is going to be, I guess, a longer video than I had intentioned, but that's fine. I'm just gonna keep going. So all of my experiences thus far have been very much in the dream state, very much in this quasi-reality where it's not even as though I fully remember the experience. It's off in the void somewhere. I haven't had, to me, what feels like physical contact with beings. I've seen a spaceship. I've talked about that experience that I had. But in terms of remembering any gray experiences or remembering experiences that I've had with other beings, contact with the Yael, contact with Shikani, Sasani, it's all been very, very dreamlike, very even daydreams, day visions coming in, very loose in knowing, is this real? Am I tuning into story? Am I tuning into the collective? This is applicable, this is beautiful information, I'm getting lessons, but like, what the fuck is real, right? I think a lot of us may be having this experience and we're redefining what real is. That's the trick there. So this is the story of my first conscious interaction with a gray. This was about last week, and I had set my alarm for around 6:15 in the morning. I didn't have to be up. I just really love early mornings and being able to be in my bed and come into my body, but just waking myself early on purpose and just not needing to go anywhere, just feeling the quiet morning. And so I did that this one day. I think maybe I had intentions to go watch the sunrise, and sometimes you're just like, I'm just gonna use a picture that I already have that's for Instagram. Anyways, I just get told to like do things, and sometimes it's a compulsion and I say okay. But this particular day I was like, no, I'm just gonna relax and be in my grateful expression. And I was aware that I was dozing, coming in and out of consciousness. And then I was aware that I was awake, and a being, a form, came from my closet, came through the closet, and in that moment I was aware that I was awake, and I was aware that I was seeing this, and then I was terrified, and I thought to myself, wow, that thing is so tall. And then I realized, no, it's actually not that tall. Like, I'm lying down, and I have kind of like a Japanese style bed. It's just kind of like a low mattress on the ground. And then I realized, oh no, it's my depth perception. Like, this being really isn't that tall. It's maybe only about 4 feet high or so. And then I was in utter terror and excitement at the same time, because I realized, oh, this is a gray. And it had this shroud over it, like an emergency blanket or like a wool blanket. And I could see the fiber of the blanket. And I knew in that moment it was a version of the grays that I'm newly cluing into. This is the version of the grays that Bella most talks about, that because of these different programs, because of the generations that have volunteered to do this, because there is connection with oversouls and with soul family, the grays were actually able to learn. And there is a timeline, at least that I see through Bella, where the Greys haven't died out, and they have actually, in fact, learned to know again the importance of the emotional body. They still don't have nearly anywhere of the understanding that we do, but there is a version of them where they are a little bit more aligned and have learned from the past. And so in this moment in my bed, I'm terrified, and I realize it's that version of a Grey, and I'm excited. And I feel like, okay, here we go. Like, here is my badge of honor moment. Here is a moment for me to have an experience, to be able to get more grounded in this, to learn and explore more. There's been a part of me that feels maybe that who am I to be doing this work, because I haven't had really intense experiences that I've recalled. And even this experience, I feel, is quite tame in a way, perhaps to what some of our earlier generations have experienced in these detainments. And I'm just moving through that part of me that still wants to hold me back because I think my story isn't scary enough or something, you know? Anyways, so I was so excited to be having this interaction and simultaneously terrified. But I understood it was this new version of a Grey. And it was being so polite. Like, I understood everything that it was doing. Came in at like 6:15 in the morning. You know, it wasn't 3 o'clock in the morning. It was dusk. I was cozy, and when it came through the closet, it wasn't like stepping one foot in front of the other and then the other. It was like side to side, sidestep, which is like way funnier and like has a way different energy attached to it. And then I could feel the Grey step on to the bed. I could feel the weight shift and the energy shift, and then I was paralyzed. I had the experience of being in that paralysis. My eyes are open and I'm seeing this shrouded being come onto the bed, but I can still feel this humor and this connection and this attempt to be as polite as possible, aware that these interactions are very intense and scary and traumatizing for us in many different ways. And I asked him, "Are you Cybo?" Like, I thought it was Cybo at first. And he said, No. I'm a Grey, but I know Cybo, and we have learned from Cybo. Okay. And then he sits on me. But he doesn't sit on me like how you sit on a horse, you know, like, or how we would like maybe normally like sit on, you know. He sits on me side saddle, like this. Like, my body is going this way, and he's like, boop, sitting on me. And in that moment, again, it was another understanding of like, this is humor. Like, this is an attempt at humor, and he's succeeding. And I was simultaneously terrified, but also so grateful to be able to be having these understandings with him. It did feel like an aspect of me, but still identified as male, which, sure. And then I was wanting to fight still the paralysis. There was a part of me that wanted to push him off, that wanted to be able to grab him, to touch it, to feel if this was real, can I feel your bones? I want to poke your wound, you know, like I wanted to feel it, but it was in this resistance because I'm having this paralysis. And then I get the understanding from this very particular version of a Grey that tells me this is a lesson for you in understanding when you know that you can trust the energy. This is a lesson for you in knowing when it is appropriate to relax. Okay? And within that, I could feel, and I'm still getting language on this part of the download that I was given, why the paralysis happens in certain agreements with certain versions of the grays is so that there can be a targeted resonance of this aspect of the will, aspect of the emotional body that can be met. And the rational mind, the ego, the fear is wanting to like protect. But if we relax into it, then there can be this true merging and understanding of the greater story, of being able to really, really look into the mirror of our own shadow. And that involves relaxing, right? But this being told me this is a lesson in learning when it's appropriate to relax. And then I fell asleep, and I then found myself in a very, very interesting dream that leads to different agreements with different beings that I am learning that I may have as well. And there was then a different dream and then a different encounter with a lesson of when it is appropriate to say no. I will share that story potentially in the next video because I'm still grounding it for myself, and I am still taking the time to learn the lessons to be able to tell the story in the way that is truly of the most benefit for all of us. So it's an exciting time right now. Always is, always is, always is, always is. But the equinox is almost upon us, and there does feel an opening in our collective. Many people are experiencing different dreams, very intense dreams. And by sifting through the symbols and the details, we can find the new nuances in the story, the new ways to define why humanity has made agreements, to be able to feel and activate and dive deeper and deeper and deeper. And then know when it is applicable to activate that ultimate love within you, that love, that connection, that light, that divinity that we all are. I feel like, again, this has been kind of rambling, but also potentially not. So as we all continue and journey forth, remember that we know enough to know when we don't know, and then we know that that is something that we know that we don't know. So thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Our hearts. Damn. Okay, I'm not gonna. I went through the whole thing without messing up any of my lines. Our hearts are one. Our hearts are one. We have already won, for we are one. Our minds may be different. Our bodies may be different. But it is through our hearts that we know our spirits are one.